T, right? Yeah, it's been a while. Del. What's your name again? Daryl. Okay,
Grass, vertical, or above room temperature. I want to. Second in.
testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Testing. Okay, this is the one. But I'm not really speaking loud. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing.
Would you take your seats, please? We're ready to start. I think it's good. Good morning everyone. Welcome. We're going to start this morning with the National Anthem and the presentation of colors. So if I could ask you to stand again.
Color guard. Halt. Right. Face. On seat. Color. Pose. Color. Freeze. Arm.
Please be seated. I'd now like to bring Reverend up for the invocation.
Our territory, and with it we accept the responsibility of the increase. God, we thank you for how you continue to show us our vision coming to reality. We thank you, God, how you wrap your loving arms around everything that we do and the people that are in our care. And God, we thank you for your Holy Spirit that humbles us by reminding us upon the shoulders we stand. For you have been the guide of our weary years. You have been the guide of our silent tears. For you are the guide that has brought us thus far by faith. And because of that, God, we thank you. And we ask, dear Lord, as we pray for you to order our steps, continue to guide us along your way, and let us be intentional to live the purpose for which you have held on to us. God, we ask now that you be with the leadership of this great university, that you help us all to participate in the transformation of this community, and that, God, you will encourage us to encourage others to press on to greater and to goodness and to righteousness and to justice by lifting up your truth. God, we thank you, and we always give you honor and glory. We give you praise, and we surrender our will and our hearts to you. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Oh, just like that. I had volunteered to yell and scream, so I told him to go away, but he wasn't going away. And I told him he wasn't off the hook until he got it fixed. You're off the hook. Okay. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It is a glorious morning here in our city and on the campus of Morgan State University. And I want to thank all of you for your participation here. Dr. Wilson will be forward in just a few seconds or moments to officially welcome you on behalf of his administration. I'm here on behalf of the Morgan State University Board of Regents, of which I chair, and all of the regents, including our student regent who is here today, extend our best wishes and thank you. It's been a while getting to this point, but it's been a good journey, and there's been several journeys like this during my time on the board over the last 33 years or so. And for all of you who've participated, those who've come here to matriculate and have come back to help our alumni, those professors and teachers, and those who have worked as a part of various administrations, thank you. Nobody knew we'd get to this point, but here we are. Kim McCalla, thank you very much for helping guide us to get to this point. I do want to say hello to the Lieutenant Governor, Boyd Rutherford, who'll be up in just a moment. Boyd, good to see you. And to Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, this is a special part of the city over here. You know? Okay. It's the Gold Coast. And we've been joined by Senator Mary Washington, Delegate Maggie McIntosh, the entire 43rd Legislative District is here. I see Council President Nick Mosby. Nick, good to see you. Good to see you. Got your mask on. I'm tempted to use the mayor's phrase, pull your mask up, shorty. I won't, he knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. You know, the dangers that you miss people when you get up and talk like this, but I want to thank our provosts, and I want to particularly mention Dean Sidnor, Dean McFadder, and what this building means to them. New home. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which started the process of the liberation of a group of people who had suffered, endured, and survived 2 centuries of slavery, oppression, deprivation, degradation, denial, and disprivilege. 4 years after that historic event, this university as we know it today was founded. It was founded as the Centennial Biblical Institute, a part of the Methodist Episcopalian Church, and it was founded with the sole purpose of evolving, and it has done that over the years. In 1890, the name was changed to Morgan State College after Littleton Morgan, who had been the chair of the Board of Trustees, which is the Board of Regents now. And in 1895, Morgan prestigiously and proudly graduated its first student, George F. McMicken, of which his name and his memory has been a part of this campus ever since. We've had, not because we did anything great, but we had great supporters, both in terms of the Centennial Institute and later when we became a part of the state of Maryland. And some of those persons are here today. When I mentioned the names of Senator Washington, Delegate McIntosh, all the others in the 43rd who have over and over again helped to carry a baton. That baton was once lifted many, many years ago by someone named Verda F. Welcome, a dear friend and someone who was a trailblazer. Please give her a round of applause. She broke her back for this university. And we've been fortunate enough over the years to have others to come along. Senator Clarence Blount, Delegate Howard Pete Rawlings, Senator McFadden, Senator Joan Carter Conway, and of course, the electeds that I talked about here today that fight the fight for this university in Annapolis day in and day out. You know, when Martin Luther King came here in 1962 and gave the commencement address, he spoke about the possibilities of Morgan and the possibilities of its students. Those possibilities now continue to be realized in the groundbreaking for this great and historic building. So I'd like to bring before you the driving force behind all of that. He is the president of this university, the 10th, I believe. I've lost track after a while. But I want to just say something about David Wilson, if I might. Is that okay? Are you supposed to do this? Can I? Okay, good. I don't want to step on any toes. Dr. David Wilson came to this university well over 10 years ago and has worked to put an imprint on the sterling foundation that existed when he arrived. He is a visionary and a luminary, but more importantly, he loves this campus. I said to the Baltimore Sun when they were doing a piece to induct him into their Hall of Fame that he had a distinguished career around the country at other universities, but he went out on a date with an HBCU and fell in love. This is the HBCU that he fell in love with. And so Harvard, eat your heart out. You had him, but you don't have him anymore. University of Wisconsin, same there. But we're just glad to have him. I've always said that I've appreciated his stewardship of this university, his leadership throughout the nation on higher education, and his friendship. Please welcome me and join in welcoming to this particular microphone the 10th president of the Morgan State University, the Honorable David Wilson.
The Honorable, right? You know, one of the greatest challenges, of course, of being president at Morgan is when the Honorable, the true Honorable, Kwesi Mfume, is a friend and the chair of your board, and then you have to follow him every time, right? But this is really a remarkable day in the 154-year history of Morgan State University. Good morning to all of our friends who are gathered this morning, all of our faculty emeriti, our students, our staff, our alumni, all of our honored guests. I want to thank you all for joining us for indeed a very, very special occasion. And before I go on, you heard from Chair Mfume as he recognized all of the elected officials here. But I do want to also recognize Lieutenant Governor Rutherford. Appreciate all the support that you have provided during your time in office. Mayor Brandon Scott, Senator Mary Washington, Delegate Maggie McIntosh, City Council President Nick Mosby, just all of the other elected officials who are joining us. Yes, we are a national treasure. The Lieutenant Governor, sometimes he jokes me about that, but we are one of only 69 sites in the United States that has been selected as a national treasure, and Morgan State University is the only college campus that is amongst those 69 sites. And so we welcome you to this continuation of this magnificent history that you just heard from Congressman Mfume. And to you, Mr. Chair, and to Congressman Mfume formerly, and to our Board of Regents. I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for your continued commitment, the board's continued commitment, and for always pushing this university and pushing me to ascend to the greatest heights, not to lead Morgan in a matchbox that is predefined. But no, they challenged me, and I in turn challenged all of the magnificent members of our team to always push this university to the highest standards of excellence, the highest standards of leadership, the highest standards of global competence, and the highest standards of innovation. And I really, really appreciate that support on behalf of our board. And so today we are gathered in the shadow of Rawlins Residence Hall, and next to the site here, where previously stood Turner Armory, which of course was home to Morgan's renowned ROTC program. We are here to celebrate the continued growth at this institution, growth that we have come to affectionately recognize as Morgan Momentum. And what exactly is Morgan Momentum, you may ask? Well, it is the continued fulfillment of a strategic plan initiated over 10 years ago. It is the progression of a sacred mission and the expansion of a shared vision for the institution, a vision of not only what Morgan is today, and as people have heard me talk about vision, but vision is just not what you see in front of you. but it's the ability to see what is in front of you and what is around the corner at the same time. And so that is really what we are about today, is recognizing what is around the corner and then positioning Morgan with this new Health and Human Services building to move us further along a future that Senator DeVerta Welcome perhaps did not imagine, but she felt that we could go there. And that's what we have to always recognize. Yeah, we have to look back, uphold our history, look ahead, recognize what is in front of us, and look around the corner and anticipate that which we don't see. And so when you look in back of me across Hill and Road, you see the magnificently designed Morgan Business Center. And you also see the Martin D. Jenkins Hall, which is home of the Behavioral and Social Sciences. Both are part of this Morgan momentum that I speak about. And then further up or behind you on Argonne Drive, you see construction well underway for what will be a 670-bed new Thurgood Marshall residential apartment complex. That is scheduled to be completed in June of 2022, and we'll have 670 anxious students waiting to move in perhaps on the next day. But that's another example of our momentum. And if you travel down Cold Spring Lane to get here, you have surely noticed the beautiful new Tyler Hall, the personification of this momentum. For those of you who may not know, Morgan was birthed in Baltimore City more than 154 years ago. And in that span of time and tens of thousands of graduates later, this institution has evolved and blossomed into the anchor institution that it is today, recognized for its preeminence in research, excellence in teaching, and academic outreach. We at Morgan are putting this institution on a path to become, perhaps, the first HBCU in the nation to say we are R1 research status, we are flagship, and we're going to lead the nation in producing the evidence-based research where policymakers and others, particularly when they're looking at the plight of marginalized communities and African American communities and Latinx communities, they know what to do with on Monday morning. Morgan wants to achieve R1 research status by 2030, and we want to get there on our own terms by not following the path set by anyone else. And so this morning, we're here to hear from a number of important people who have played a large role in getting us where we are today, and they will play an even larger role in moving us to that higher perch. But before I do that, I too would like to acknowledge the unbelievable commitment, a level of adroitness, a level of commitment that, quite frankly, I have not seen except when I got to Morgan in all of my higher education career. I want to recognize the efforts of our Associate Vice President for Facilities, Design, and Construction, Ms. Kim McCalla and her team. Just simply best, not just in our great state of Maryland, best in class in the nation. And I anoint that to you, Ms. McCalla, and your team, because you have been at the forefront of the work to bring us these award-winning new buildings to our campus and to the state legislature. When you say to us, this is the amount of money that you have to work with, what we're trying to do with that is not just put four walls together and raise them into the air. We're trying to do that with some design and some functionality in mind, by also paying attention to the historic structures on the campus. And that's why these buildings with high degrees of functionality are winning all of these national awards. And so Kim and her team have managed, since I've been here, now more than $520 million in new construction over the past decade. And that number will only grow larger with these new anticipated buildings in the pipeline. Indeed, this is a great day for Morgan, and as we break ground on what will be another phenomenal new facility, the new $171 million, 208,000 square foot, state-of-the-art Health and Human Services building that will house some of our vital programs. It will house the School of Community Health and Policy, and you'll hear from Dean Kimberly Sitnor later. It will house the School of Social Work. It will house our new Center for Urban Health and Equity. It will house our Department of Nursing, Medical Technologies, there's so many others. But most importantly, I can say that when we open these doors in 2024, I will no longer have Dean McFadder and Dean Sitnor coming into my office every single day saying, when is our time, right? They've just been incredible colleagues. And so this project has been a long time coming, many years in the making, and today we finally get to break ground. And so I don't want to go on too much longer, but only once again just to thank everyone for all of their incredible support. This is another historic year for Morgan. We have a record number of new students. At the institute, we have almost 9,000 students. We've never even come close to that number before. We have pretty close to 2,400 freshmen this year. That's a 100% increase over our freshman class last year. And to meet the growing demand now, the Morgan brand is growing. It is being elevated all over our state, all over the world. And we are preparing the university to meet this great demand. And to meet the demands of the 21st century, we need top-notch facilities because we are already putting in place here unique, high-demand academic degree programs that are speaking to the work of the future and the future of work. But you're not going to be able to have those programs to be first in class, which we will not accept anything but, without world-class facilities to house them. And so the anticipated completion is only, Mr. Chair, 2.5 years away. Please don't throw an egg at me, Dr. McFadder. I tried to move this up as much as I can. And so we hope that 2.5 years from now, we are standing, cutting a ribbon on this space over here, opening the doors to the new Health and Human Services building. And we are absolutely counting on the fact that we'll be seeing all of you and 10 times more. And so, once again, thank you very much for all your support. A glorious day for our beloved national treasure, Morgan State University.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford.
Thank you. And just to make sure everyone understands, when Dr. Wilson was saying that sometimes we talk about Morgan being a national jewel, it is a national jewel. But you have to understand that I'm a Howard man. So, you know, from time to time, there's a little bit of a rivalry, a little discussion in terms of, you know, who's who and what's what. And you know, the fact that your money man, your chief financial officer, is also a Howard man, it says something about the priorities. So, but it's great to be here. It's always, you know, a wonderful day at Morgan. I think the sun always shines on Morgan. I have not been here when it's been raining, and so, or snowing, or sleeting, or any of those things, but it's great to be here, and thank you, and it's great to be here with so many wonderful people from university, from our Congress. Our congressman is here, and our delegates and senators, and the mayor, and council president, everyone who's here, and of course all the Morgan community, both faculty, students, as well as the community that Morgan happens to sit in. And it really is a pleasure to celebrate the groundbreaking of the Health and Human Services building here at the esteemed Morgan State University. The site, as was mentioned, for the Health and Human Services building, stands on the former site of the Turner Armory, which was demolished, I guess it was just last year when it was taken down. And our administration was able to provide funding for the demolition, the design, and start the construction, and I'm quite sure there's going to be more money to come to make sure that it is completed. One thing to just, on a side note with regard to the Armory, and Dr. Wilson mentioned the ROTC, I remember many years ago when I was visiting my sister and brother-in-law, who was a career military officer and worked for the congressman at one point in Hawaii, and all of the African American officers that I met were HBCU alums. Every one of them, the young ones, the not so young, they all were HBCU alums. And so I just wanted to point that out, that not just in business, not just in healthcare and medicine and other areas, but also those who serve us overseas and the leadership of those serving overseas, many of them are HBCU alums. Now, of course, like Dr. Wilson said, we believe that students deserve the facilities to equip them for the skills and knowledge necessary to compete against their peers in the job market, not just here in Maryland, but worldwide, and apply for those graduate programs, both here as well as throughout the nation. And new facilities such as this state-of-the-art facility with classrooms and research labs, as well as community spaces, will be utilized for these students to study essential fields, as was mentioned, and particularly in this time of COVID-19, those fields are necessary in the public health sphere, in the nursing, in social work, because one of what we often say, the tale of, as not tale in story, but tale as what is behind oneself, of COVID-19 is going to be our social and mental health, because there's been a lot of trauma, there's been a lot of isolation, there's still a lot of isolation and anxiety, and a lot of folks are going to need help going forward in dealing with all that. So the Health and Human Services building will also have the University Counseling Center in it, which is, hey, you can start counseling now, okay. Yeah, so I think there's somebody here that can, I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke like that. I just couldn't help it, right? The senator's shaking her head. Can't take him anywhere. But of course it'll be an important resource for the students and staff, that, as mentioned, is going to be essential in the years to come. And so, we're all gathered here because we all believe that education transforms lives. And I can say that for myself, it has done that as well. And so the 21st century, having a 21st century state-of-the-art facility like the new Health and Human Services building, will be able to provide students here at Morgan with new opportunities, enhance their studies, and enrich the community around them. So I want to congratulate Morgan State University for this new development, and look forward to seeing the final product when it's completed in 2024. Hopefully the president will let me in and I won't have to stand over by the fence over there. But I look forward to witnessing the continued positive impact of Morgan State, and we'll continue to see what it does for the surrounding community, for our state, and for our nation in the coming years. And I do want to give a shout out to Kim McCullough also. I have seen the progress that's taken place, not just in the 7 years that I've been in office, but almost 20 years ago when I was at General Services. The difference now in terms of how Morgan handles its projects and what was going on 20 years ago is a big difference, and I'm quite sure it has a lot to do with Kim's leadership, Dr. Wilson's leadership, and all those who are here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Senator Washington. Thank you.
It's a great view. You should see yourselves. It's just so wonderful to be together. A year ago, we would be trying to do this via Zoom, and we'd see the faces but wouldn't feel the energy. So I just feel really good to see all of you here. I also want to thank the planning committee, because usually when I'm having groundbreakings, it's like 100 degrees. And so I want to thank you for doing this in the fall. So I really appreciate your planning on that. I am Senator Mary Washington, and I'm so honored to be one of the team that represents this university and the surrounding community in Annapolis. Delegate Maggie McIntosh was noted before, but I also want to recognize and say her name, Delegate Regina Boyce. I want to make sure that you see her there. She's absolutely a part of our team. We look forward to having her continue to be a part of that team, and she is a grand voice for this university. Groundbreakings are about beginnings, aren't they? They're about promises made and promises kept, and it's about going through and seeing that process. You know, when we shape buildings, we start buildings, the buildings that we raised not only have a shape for themselves when we're building it, but they begin to shape those within them. And we look at the buildings and they grow and they are beautiful. And we should look not only at the building itself, but its foundation. And some of the speakers before me have mentioned that the foundation, the energy that went into building this. And so for that, I want to congratulate the leadership team that brought us here today, building that foundation. President Wilson, our Board of Regents, our chair, Congressman Kwesi Mfume. It's good to say that again. I mean, we always said it, but now now I get emails from you about what you're doing in Washington, D.C. We mentioned our student regent, so wonderful to be here. The President's senior cabinet. I know all of you are the individuals behind making sure all the trains run on time and making sure that things are moving forward. All of the deans, being the leaders of that great education that occurs here on this campus. I want to recognize you and thank you so much for bringing us here today. And our community associations, our communities that are here, and in particular, a community association president, I want to recognize, and I'm going to actually ask you to stand up if you don't mind. Paula Proviance, if you would stand up. So these things don't just happen in vacuums. Momentum, change, possibilities. There are individuals in our communities that demand it. They demand it of their elected officials. They demand it of themselves, and it's because of people like Paula Proviance and all the communities that are around here that have demanded that we have an excellent commercial corridor, have demanded that the university that is in our community has excellence. So I always want to make sure that we know that we are part of a grander community. And so as we're building this, what does this building say about us? Right? What does it say about everything that we want? We have buildings that protect us, right? We have buildings that protect us from the elements. We have buildings that we just admire. We have buildings we admire for their strength and duty. But some buildings are also doing work. It's where we're going to do the work to heal our communities. And so what does this building say about the work we must do? First of all, yes, you mentioned that there's the School of Community Health and Public Policy. I would say the last 18 going on 19 months, if anything, if we must understand the importance of health, the importance of, and also raising up the healthcare disparities that are occurring in our communities. And so rising up that the work of the Community Health and Policy a program here at Morgan will be a part of healing our communities. And we thank you so much and look forward to this building being that place where we do that work. Sure. I never know when to stop. Also, what's wonderful is that our legislature, we passed the Shirley Nathan Pulliam health equity, health disparities bill, and so now actually taking effect tomorrow, October 1st, will be the Maryland Commission on Health Equity. And so not only will we have a building that's raising up and a program, there is now a statewide commitment to consolidate all of these various task force and social determinants of this and that, and to build into an actual commission that will bring all those things together. And I look forward to and ensure that you will be at the center of that. The School of Social Work, we know the importance of social work, and we mentioned that we know the work that social workers do, and so do it often so quietly, and the role that social workers play not only in the mental health and behavioral health of our communities, but the civil rights of our people. Social workers were at the forefront of that. They were part of the teams no shade against the attorneys that pled in front of the Supreme Court, but it was the social workers that laid the case, right? That yes, and they laid the case. They were behind the child labor laws that were created in this country, where the social workers, everything where, they work to get us as legislators on board. And so the work that I look forward to happening here in this community will be at the School of Social Work. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we mentioned the counseling center. I know our mayor and our council president really understand the impacts of trauma. You've seen legislation being passed not only at the state level, but at the city level about trauma and what that does to our communities. And I look forward to this center not only attending to the mental health and behavioral health of its students, but also really being grounded in the community and providing opportunities for students to be a part of the healing of so many of the wounds, of the generations of wounds, the result of racism, of divestment, and now of COVID. And while I love seeing and honor and have great respect for our military, and the role that they play in the world, I find it not ironic, but just quite wonderful, but that now these types of healing, these celebration of life types of activities are being built up on the grounds of a former armory. And so, again, I think that gives a tremendous speak. The other thing that's really exciting about in particular the health equity, is that Morgan State University is now going to join there's only two other am I doing your speech? Health equity centers, Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland College Park. And so now Morgan State University will be at the head of that. So, as I said earlier, as this building takes shape, it will be evidence of the work that has already been done, but also the work that we hope to do in the coming years. It is an investment in our communities, it is an investment in our future, and we look forward to always being a part of that journey. Congratulations, Morgan State University, and look forward to continuing to get it done.
Before we bring up Delegate McIntosh, we're going to bring back up Lieutenant Governor for the reading of a citation.
Oh, I do have the citation. I know, staff work well, although I didn't have it in my notes, but that's another story. That's okay, there's no punishment. Well, what I have is a governor's citation to Morgan State University, and it reads, "Greetings, be it known that on behalf of the citizens of this state, in recognition of a special tribute to celebrate the groundbreaking of the Health and Human Services Building at Morgan State University, the new Health and Human Services Building will provide state-of-the-art classroom, lab, demonstration sites, offices, community space for the School of Community and Health and Policy, the Department of Family and Consumer Science, and the University Counseling Center, and the School of Social Work, and as the people of Maryland join together in expressing our congratulations and best wishes for success, we are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation. It's signed this day by the governor, myself, as well as the Secretary of State. Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Please join me in welcoming Delegate McIntosh.
Thank you, and I reiterate what everybody said about the weather. It's wonderful, isn't it? Before I actually begin my remarks about this occasion, I want to mention that I woke up this morning and I read the newspaper, and it said that the state of Maryland and the committee that I chair, Appropriations, will have a surplus of $2.5 billion. I think you might have read that. Yes, you can start clapping right now. Okay. I saw a lot of people take a lot of credit and give credit to a lot of people, but I want to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Kwesi Mfume, and the House and the Senate and the President of the United States of America. Thank you. Because it really is the work that the Congress has done over the past year and after the election also of President Biden, and what you're doing now, that is going to see us through what has been a terrible storm in our life. And I really do appreciate the work. All of our citizens appreciate the work that you have done. And I want to make sure that I'm short in my remarks, and I want everybody after me to be brief, because he's got an infrastructure bill that he has to go vote on, all right? So, Dr. Wilson, and to the Morgan community, and to community residents, and to all the folks who are here, Lieutenant Governor, it's always great to see you, my colleagues in the state, Senator Mary Washington and Delegate Regina Boyce, and of course my mayor, who I love, and the City Council President, Nick Mosby, who left us in the House of Delegates. I'm still a little sore about that, but he's doing a great job. And someone who hasn't been mentioned, I want to mention my council person and your council person here, Odette Ramos is here also. Everybody that preceded me said all of the wonderful things that should be said about today, so I'm not going to repeat. But I do want to say that just a few weeks ago, the Appropriations Committee, Subcommittee on Education and Economic Development came to Morgan, and to a delegate, when we walked out, Dr. Wilson, people turned to me and said, "Oh my God, this is an incredible institution. This is an incredible university." And the progress that has been made at this university over the last 2 decades was on full display that day. So I want to thank you for all that you have done, you personally, and of course the chair of the board and the board for all that you have done. In particular, I will tell you that I think the Appropriations Committee members were impressed with the number of new freshmen coming in, the growth in enrollment. They were impressed with the construction on campus, the diversity of the campus, and most importantly, I think, they were really impressed with this university's treatment of its own employees. The fact that now every employee in this campus will be paid a living wage. That's right. Every employee in this campus will be in a situation where they will have the benefits that they deserve. This is something that we in the legislature have worked very closely with the president of Morgan on, and we're very pleased to see that happen. I could not reiterate more what our Lieutenant Governor and what my Senator Mary Washington said about the need for the services that will be provided in this building, the need for the really state-of-the-art building that will graduate incredible young people into the fields that we need most right now. Right now. Before I came to this groundbreaking, I was a part of a meeting that talked about the isolation and what's happening with our elderly in this time. Isolation, the effects of that isolation on the mental health and health of people who are retired and at home alone. And so we need what you're doing here at Morgan more than we can ever tell you. And I am happy to say that the Appropriations Committee, I pledge, will be a part of the Morgan momentum forever. Thank you.
I'd now like to welcome Brandon Scott, Honorable Brandon Scott, to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. And Madam Delegate, I will be brief, but we have some bridges on Cold Spring and Hillen Road needs to be taken care of, so we want the congressman to get back to D.C. as quickly as possible. It is so great to be here at Morgan State University again. And Mr. Congressman, you're right. Northeast Baltimore is a special treasure. This is a special place, and not just because I live here. When you think about Northeast Baltimore, you think about a collection of institutions like Morgan and people who understand, like Ms. Paula, who understand the true spirit of community. And so many of them, so many of my neighbors here in Northeast Baltimore first came to Baltimore to attend Morgan, and they never left. And that tells you how special this university is. And I want to thank you, the Board of Regents, Madam Student Regent. Thank you. We have multiple generations of Morgan students represented on that board, so you can see the greatness that Morgan puts out each and every day. Mr. President, thank you, and thank you for understanding how important Morgan is, right? My notes said that your administration for making this institution, and I scratched it out, for making Morgan State University Baltimore's university. And I'm saying that knowing that I'm going to get in trouble because my next event is at Coppin. Baltimore's university. A positive force in the lives of your students, but Baltimore residents alike. And I want to just say, for many young people in Baltimore, including myself, who grew up at 2551 West Coast Spring Lane, Morgan and his students were how we knew that college was real, that we could actually do it. Being on that 33 bus, I don't know what you guys call it now, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, but for us in Baltimore, we're always going to call it 33 bus, coming from Park Heights to Mervo and high school, and being on the bus, seeing the Morgan students study, read, cry, go through all those emotions about being a college student is the first time when I knew, outside of my family, that people like me could achieve that goal. So understanding that and knowing that's the history of this institution, we know the excellence that it has produced, and we know that we have much more to come. You heard about the Morgan momentum. You can see it. I see it every day when I'm going to and from in City Hall. You can see across the street what's been accomplished. You can see that we got smart in the city that said, well, also we need to do the shopping center as well, because we collectively as a community can invest in a better future. This new Health and Human Services building will be an incredible asset for Morgan students and our city, and it will prepare students for in-demand, very much so as you heard, in-demand 21st century jobs in healthcare and technology, bolstering the economic potential of our young people and addressing immediate needs in our city and our country. The importance of this building and its value to the surrounding community cannot be understated, especially because of what we've all been living, especially because we're so excited to be here in person because COVID-19 has ravaged our communities. We know that this pandemic has further exposed a lot of the blatant health disparities, Mr. President, that exist in Black and brown communities in cities across the nation. And it's all too clear and more evident that we need more black health care professionals, from physicians to medical technology professionals and nutritionists. I call myself a little of a bootleg nutritionist, but we need real nutritionists. Right? Not just folks telling you don't eat meat, don't drink soda, but how to better take care of your bodies. We know that black patients have better health outcomes when they are served by healthcare professionals who look like them, who culturally understand them, who can reach them in ways that other folks just simply cannot. And we know that that's what will be produced here at this new building, here at Baltimore's University. I want to thank everyone who's involved in this project for their work to continue to promote not just excellence from Morgan State, but black excellence right here in Northeast Baltimore. And because we know, yeah, we can clap for black excellence. And let me just say, Mr. President, you will reach that R1 status by doing it your way. And we all know I know a little bit about doing things my way and achieving your goal. But know that all of us here today, this entire community, this city, will be right there with Morgan to make sure that you do it, because our futures are tied together, and we can only be a better city as Morgan reaches its fullest potential. Thank you and congratulations.
We'll now hear from Councilman Mosley.
Good morning. Good morning. So the Lieutenant Governor started this off. I have to close us out with it. But as a Tuskegee man, sitting in front of me is a Morgan and a Howard man, but as a Tuskegee man, it brings me great honor and pride to come to Morgan State. And that's because Morgan State not only is an institution that is an anchor in Northeast Baltimore, as a son of Northeast Baltimore, but it also has a transformative and culturally competent leader in another Tuskegee man, and David Wilson. And the intersectionality of the two, and this is a real point right here. I don't know if you can identify another institution in an urban setting with those variables other than Morgan State University. And that's the pride and joy that we all share today, Mr. Congressman. When I was driving over here, I was thinking about the Health and Human Service building and what I was going to say. And I know my staff put together some notes, but it's always, Nick, what are you actually going to say? So I was driving over here, and I thought about timing. And I thought about the time that we're in right now. And it took me back, Chairwoman McIntosh, when I started to call my colleagues down at the State House. And Mr. Lieutenant Governor, I said, we need to understand and know how COVID-19 is impacting our communities. Not just by jurisdictional data, but we need to drill down on understanding and know the data through demographics. Looking at it from zip codes, looking at it from race and age. The standard things that we would do in any analysis to understand and know how something is impacting us. Because like in an emergency room, you want to triage your most critical needs. So with the limited resources that we had at the time, I wanted to ensure that it was getting to the right place. And I'm thankful for the leadership of Chairwoman McIntosh and my other colleagues for signing on, and ultimately thankful for the leadership of Lieutenant Boyd Rutherford for ensuring that Maryland was one of the first in the nation to start pushing that information forward. So when we talk about timing and we talk about healthcare, let's just stay on that theme right now. The best time is immediate in dealing with a crisis, in dealing with health challenges, in dealing with a problem. When we have a leaky roof, the only thing that we know, if we allow that roof to leak, it's going to get worse. It's not going to cure or fix itself by itself. And when we think about the residual impacts of COVID-19 on the black community, not just looking at it from a physical perspective, but looking at it from a mental perspective, the residual effects and trauma that it will play out over the next years, the next decades is real. And we need culturally competent institutions like Morgan State University at the forefront to help us solve our challenges and our problems. About 2 weeks after myself and Brandon, we were sworn in as mayor and Baltimore City Council president, there was a woman who was at the harbor, and some police officers saw her, interacted with her, while Congressman Mfume, she was attempting to drown her 6-year-old child. I bring up that story because so many stories like that are happening all across this country. Johns Hopkins did a research study that showed that African Americans here in the state of Maryland had 2 times increased the amount of completed suicides during the height of the pandemic. This mental health, the trauma, and the behavioral health that's coming out of it is real. I was racing on my way over here, and my folks were on the phone calling me, Nick, they're starting on time. You need to get here, you need to get here, you need to get here. And Brandon, I was dealing with a traumatic situation out my front door. It was a young woman, 27 years old, that me, my children, my wife, all of my neighbors had been able to see deteriorate over the course of this pandemic. Well, unfortunately, last week, a video went viral of this young woman in distress, dealing with a behavioral health issue related to substance abuse. And someone decided to go on Instagram and exploit her, Brandon. And it got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comments and likes. Well, she wasn't just a person on Instagram, she was my neighbor. And I had the fortune of meeting 2 of her friends from foster care system who found her and went to go support her. And I went to them a couple of days ago and I said, if you guys can get her into treatment, I'm gonna be willing to try to do whatever I can do to help out right away. So I'm getting dressed to come to the event. I was gonna be on time to see Dr. Wilson. And I get a bang on my door, boom, 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 boom. It was her friends. They said, she says she's ready to go. So I called up a friend who has a mental health program. I said, can we get her in like right now? Because she's willing to go. He came and he picked her up, and that's why I was a couple minutes late. But the moral to that story is it's all about timing. It's all about that on-demand access to treatment and cure. But more importantly, at the building that we're going to see right behind us, the $171 million investment is going to be an investment for the future of Black Baltimoreans, but more importantly, the future of all African Americans in this country. Because we understand and know, again, that it's institutions like Morgan State that have that cultural connectivity to break down the residual effects of policies that were shaped through bigotry, white prioritization, and systematic oppression. That is exactly what this building is here to do, to ensure that if we ever approach another pandemic, that we will be prepared to ensure that the impacts of this pandemic won't be passed on to generations, and to ensure the health, wealth, and safety of every single American here in the city of Baltimore and throughout this country will be protected and valued. Thank you.
We'd now like to welcome Dean Kim Sidnor.
Now, why do all you do this to me? This is not fair. You've told our story better than we could tell it ourselves. And I'm going to be quick, Congressman, because I know Nancy Pelosi's probably calling you right now. So it is a moment of joy, pride, privilege, and responsibility as I stand here as Dean of the School of Community Health and Policy. Grateful for this moment, this opportunity that the state, the city, the leadership of Morgan State has given us and our community surrounding this institution. I love Baltimore. I'm from here, so this is also a personal commitment. I'm not going to say my alumni schools because I don't want to get that started. But let me just say 3 things. A lot resonated in my head. My sister called me last night and said, it's a big day tomorrow. What are you going to say? I was like, I hadn't thought about it. So, of course, she wrecked the rest of my night. But then one word resonated that I couldn't get rid of, and that was community. And that's not because the school is called the School of Community Health and Policy. It's because it's all about community. It is about our school. Very proud and privileged that nursing, public health, I'm not going to forget anybody, health education, nutritional science under the school will all be under one roof for the first time as dean. This is a moment of pride and privilege. Thank you very much, Dr. Wilson, for making that happen. The second community is the community in this building. We are going to be historic in the sense that there are multiple schools in this building. It is a gathering of disciplines, the disciplines we all need to work together like the real world does in making real things happen. So I thank you for giving us that privilege to be together and not separate, and to break down these silos that often prevent us from doing the work that we need to do. And the third issue of community is this building belongs to the community. Kim McCalla, can't say enough about you and your team, the architects who put this building together, designed with wellness and community in mind. These doors, community, I promise you, are going to be so wide open, we're not going to know who owns this building. We're not going to be able to differentiate between our neighborhoods and the space inside, because that's what this was built and designed to do. This building represents the university's commitment 2030 to be our anchor institution in Baltimore City. I promise, we promise to do our part to deliver. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Dean Anna McFadder.
Good morning. And as usual, social workers bring up the rear with completeness and finality. I want to begin my comments by giving thanks to so many people who are part of the collective who got us here today. And let me say up front, if I fail to include you, contributed to the aging process, not to my heart or intentions. First, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the taxpayers and citizens of the state of Maryland and all of the elected officials who consistently played a role in the growth and sustainability of our great university. Next, the two Cynthias, Cynthia Wilder, Cynthia Lyndhurst, of our planning office, who for the past 15 years descended upon us year after year with new analyses and plans for the building on whose grounds we are breaking today, trying to assure that a future building met the needs of an unsure future. Kim McCalla, people have called her name many times. Her entire team, Julie Wilson, Joseph Olayemi, who then took up the mantle, making sure that this new structure not only stand the test of time for the next 50 years and beyond, but was a true reflection of its name. Then there's Damon Shepard, project director and Hope Architectural Firm. And once we were able to stop ribbing him for being a Howard graduate, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, he left no voices, no feedback, no suggestions from our faculty, our staff, our students, the alumni, and the community members unheard and unincorporated into what this beautiful edifice will become. President Wilson, it is your dynamic leadership and advocacy and boundless energy and steadfast belief that Morgan could and would grow the future and lead the world. We will forever be grateful for your enduring belief that the strong foundation of our beloved university was ready to add a second floor, a third floor, thank you, and a fourth floor. You got it, because that's exactly where I was. That works. I can't tell you how the next group of dynamic leaders who over the past 25 years, that is the School of Social Work's Advisory Board, showed up year after year without fail through their fundraising, professional guidance, in assuring that we stay the course in preparing the best urban social workers anywhere, who greeted our reaccreditation team season after season, assuring our continued accreditation. Sandra Jackson, Wave your hand. Sandra Jackson, President Emerita and Morgan alumni, former CEO of the DC Office of Family and Children's Services, Anita Turks Hunter, Administrator in Corrections and Probation and Parole. And Mr. President, I'm told that Anita Hunter has never missed a homecoming since she graduated. I don't want to say how long ago that was. From Morgan, Ernestine Jones, who is no longer with us, Bill Carson, the former director of our Career Development Center and retiree, Jessica Contreras, former director of Latino Affairs and previous mayoral administration, Debbie Rock, twice awarded the Businesswoman of the Year in Baltimore City, Reverend Eric King and Ruth Maiden, the former dean of the School of Social Work at Bryn Mawr University in Pennsylvania, which is the oldest school of social work in the nation. And then there are those whom I refer to as the ground troops. These are the people who really do the heavy work. Our faculty, our staff, department chairs and program directors, past and present, our alumni, our students. It is their resilience and unwavering commitment that they showed up every day, in spite of the challenges in Old Jenkins, of inconsistent Wi-Fi, temperatures in classrooms and offices that never seem to quite sync with the seasons. Through ongoing strategies, struggles, and pleas for additional resources, they showed up in unison in the believing in the power of a great education. Thank you, team, a million times over. And now my speech. I'd like to start with the thank yous first. This new building sends a powerful message to our neighborhoods and communities and beyond, that this new and innovative space belongs not only to the academic occupants and our students, but to you as well. We want you to know that you are welcome to enter anytime as we continue our collective work to remove barriers that get in the way of making the lives of your families and neighborhoods and communities what it should be. And finally, to my Morgan colleagues and friends who often tease me when I remind them that social workers are everywhere, and that's because it's really true. And I don't know if you know this, social workers are 70% of the mental health clinicians in this nation. Physicians and healthcare providers acknowledge freely that diagnosis and treatment of illness is only the beginning of the healing process, and that social workers are invaluable partners in interpreting medical ease with patients, assuring them that their return home in environments of safety and support, easing the anxiety and the stress that further complicate the healing process. It is social workers in K-12 schools in partnership with teachers who address the psychological, family, and social issues that way too often obstruct the educational process. In fact, a couple of years ago, Chicago K-12 educators went on strike for weeks around a non-negotiable, and that is to increase the presence of social workers in every school. It is social workers who, in the public defender's office, who interpret legalese for persons accused of crimes, who implement and model what justice in the criminal justice system should resemble. It is social workers in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, hospice centers that reduce the fear, the loneliness, and the anxiety of patients by minimizing the unknown and foreseeing gaps in service delivery. And finally, in the famous last words of Dean Anna McFadder, who has served as department chair and dean here at Morgan for the past 25 years, before you depart this earth, you will know a social worker or wish you did.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our formal program. We're going to move to the turning of the soil ceremony. If I could ask the platform guests to move over to the shovels. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
move over for like move over to that side, please.
You can come on, just keep this area clear.
Please watch your step over there, please.
Oh! See, she's supposed to know that. She's over there. That man to himself. That's what I knew was going to happen. All you got. Get your shot and then hold. Yeah, it looks good. Hold that.
I'm going to lift our shovel a little bit out of the ground so we can see that beautiful Morgan logo. Make sure it's together real.
Are you okay? Are you
Yep.
okay?
We're good.
There we go.
She out of the moon. Right here. Down. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Ready? Okay.
Count it down. 1.
Not yet. Not yet. You want some dirt yourself. There we go. Hold it.
Hold it for 3, 2, 3. Now, I'm going to count us down to toss it. To toss it forward.
Push forward. Push forward.
1, 2, 3.